Days away from what has been dubbed the real reset. It's the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. On July 6th, BRICS nations, which include Russia, China, India, Iran, and many more, are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the U.S. dollar, thus cratering its value. They've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the U.S. dollar and U.S. bonds in favor of gold. So, how can you protect your IRA or your 401k from the fallout from this landmark shift? Well, you can simply diversify with gold from the Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. So get a free information kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word America to the number 989898. July 6 marks a monumental shift happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. It's as simple as texting the word America to the number 989898 and claiming your free information kit from the Birch Gold Group. Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. Just in this morning, the U.S. Supreme Court upholds a congressional statute that allows Americans to sue Palestinian authorities for the murders or injuries of Americans in attacks abroad. The measure allows plaintiffs to pursue monetary damages for violence perpetrated years ago in Israel and the West Bank. The High Court's unanimous ruling overturned a lower court's decision that the 2019 law violated the rights of the Palestinian Authority and the Palestine Liberation Organization. At issue were concerns of due process under the U.S. Constitution. The federal government and a group of American citizens and victims and their families appealed that ruling to the Supreme Court. The ongoing violence involving Israel and the Palestinians serves as a backdrop for the case and today's High Court ruling. That ruling, by the way, was one of 6 the High Court handed down today. The others include guidance on California's emission standards. However, 10 cases are still yet to be decided. One of the more anticipated rulings has to do with the challenge to President Trump's order denying birthright citizenship to U.S.-born children of parents who are in this country illegally. The order is on ice at the moment as the lower court blocked it. However, the justices' rule on the issue will also create precedent for how much authority local and district judges have in issuing nationwide injunctions. Expect more and more rulings from the SCOTUS over the next month or so as the Supreme Court's term ends. President Trump is set to travel to The Hague in the Netherlands next week for a NATO summit. The issue of the conflict between Israel and Iran will likely be one of the key discussion points, as most world leaders agree that Iran just can't have a nuclear weapon. The issue of Iran's continued uranium enrichment and nuclear program is at the heart of the current fighting. And while Israel is taking the lead on attacking Iran, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump will make a decision on U.S. involvement in the fighting within the next 2 weeks.
The president is always interested in a diplomatic solution to the problems and the global conflicts in this world. Again, he is a peacemaker in chief. He is the peace through strength president. And so if there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it. But he's not afraid to use strength as well.
Leavitt goes on to say Iran has never been closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon. She also says the Islamic Republic has everything it needs to achieve a nuke and could develop one within weeks. President Trump still has control over California's National Guard right now as the Golden State's governor moves forward with a lawsuit challenging the legality of the commander-in-chief's use of California National Guard troops to put down protests and unrest in California. Thursday, a 3-judge appeals court in San Francisco extended the pause on a lower court's ruling, which said President Trump taking over the California National Guard without coordinating with Governor Gavin Newsom was unlawful. By law, the president can federalize state National Guard forces if there's an invasion, if there's a, quote, rebellion or danger of rebellion against the government, or if the federal government is unable to execute the country's laws with regular forces. Governor Newsom's lawsuit argues the LA protests didn't amount to a rebellion. That's a quick check of your headlines. We'll, of course, have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. But for now, let's get you back to the Charlie Kirk Show and your regularly scheduled programming.
Here we go, blasting into another brand new hour, another brand new week of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board for the conversation. Remember, this show often results in extended periods of American pride, optimism, and uncontrollable enthusiasm for America's future. Yeah, kicking off the live broadcast and Real America's Voice and MTN networks and reaching a growing global audience. This is the Steve Gruber Show. It's a no panic zone. Glad you're here. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, heat is on for much of the eastern half of the country, and New York City could set a record for June tomorrow if it reaches the forecast 102 degrees. It would break the record of 101. Number two, across the country, home prices continue to rise. That's now pushed those prices to all-time record highs. I guess it's good if you're selling, not too good if you're buying. And number three, here we are. I opened Friday's show with this question as a hypothetical. Do you support the United States joining the war against Iran? And if so, how far does that support go? Does it include bombing runs, guided missile strikes, yes or no? Well, as you certainly know by now, that is no longer a hypothetical question. It's a matter of fact. President Donald Trump unleashed the fury and the might of the United States military on Iran's nuclear ambitions, and it was something right out of Top Gun 2, it seems. You see, our boys in uniform with those B-2 stealth bombers and Navy submarines dropped a dozen bunker buster bombs on the reinforced Fordo site, buried 300 feet under a mountain, and fired 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Natanz and Isfahan. Here's United States Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, describing the mission.
Last night, on the President's orders, U.S. Central Command, under the command of General Eric Kurilla, executed Operation Midnight Hammer, a deliberate and precise strike against 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. This was a complex and high-risk mission carried out with exceptional skill and discipline by our joint force. I want to thank every service member, planner, operator that made this mission possible. Their actions reflect the highest standards of the United States Armed Forces. This operation was designed to severely degrade Iran's nuclear weapons infrastructure. It was planned and executed across multiple domains and theaters with coordination that reflects our ability to project power globally with speed and precision at the time and place of our nation's choosing. This was a highly classified mission with very few people in Washington knowing the timing or nature of this plan.
Yeah, the stunning mission really underscored in the eyes of Iran and the world just how advanced our military can be when needed. In fact, Iran didn't even have time to blink in response. They had time to do nothing. Listen to this.
We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the President stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
It's incredible strength on a global scale. We can only hope it'll be the path to peace through strength. Kane delivered this message straight to the camera for anyone listening with the idea of doing us harm going forward. Pay attention.
Our forces remain on high alert and are fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation or proxy attacks, which would be an incredibly poor choice. We will defend ourselves.
Now, President Trump, our bold commander-in-chief, was the first to break the news, confirming the strikes on Truth Social. Saying Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities are now completely and totally obliterated. For years, Iran's been thumbing its nose at us, enriching uranium to near weapons-grade levels, and now they've paid the price. The IAEA has been whining about Iran's lack of cooperation for ages. And Trump just sent a message. You don't mess with the United States. Death to America? Yeah, I don't think so. He delivered an address to the nation 10 o'clock Saturday night. You probably knew that. Something that would have been, by the way past Joe Biden's bedtime. And Trump reminded the world of this. Listen.
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue.
Yeah. The president called for peace in a similar tone like that of General Kane. Here's that.
With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago.
He's exactly right, by the way. Exactly right. I can't overstate, I really can't, just how impressive this mission was. 37 hours those B-2s flew from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. 150 aircraft in all, refueling stops in midair. All of that. The kind of chilling message it sends to terrorists around the world who have come to the conclusion that the U.S. is all bark and no bite. Well, hello. Top of the morning to you. And before you jump to the conclusion that Trump is just beating the war drums, I think Vice President J.D. Vance made an important point here. The U.S. showed remarkable restraint in this mission. We'll get to that in a moment, actually. I'm going to tell you this. 37 hours, 7 B-2s, 150 aircraft. The kind of coordination that took for the U.S. military to pull that off is absolutely incredible. You know, they pulled a decoy mission. They sent a squadron west. Then they slid these out to the east. 18 hours in each direction. Can you imagine? It's a remarkable mission. Be proud of the United States military today. We did not get in a war. We took out targets of a country that said they would deliver nuclear warheads to you and to I. It's out. It's over. We'll take a break. We'll hear from J.D. Vance and much more after the break. Nice to see you. Remember, follow me on Twitter, Facebook. It's live on YouTube every day. Back in a moment. All right, let's get back to the conversation about this remarkable mission pulled off by the United States over the weekend. Here is J.D. Vance.
What we're prepared for is if they attack us in a maximal direction, first of all, we've got maximum defensive posture. I think that we're going to be able to defend as many of our people as possible. And of course, I'd encourage Americans to pray for our guys in the Middle East because, yes, they are under a significant amount of duress and a significant amount of threat right now. But then, of course, John, if the Iranians attack us, they're going to be met with overwhelming force. And I don't think the president could be clear about this. If you look at what we did yesterday, John, we did not attack the nation of Iran. We did not attack any civilian targets. We didn't even attack military targets outside of the 3 nuclear weapons facilities that we thought were important to accomplish our goal of preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So how Iran responds, I think, is ultimately the ball is in their court. But if you look at what we did, it was very precise, very narrowly tailored to our objective. And if the Iranians decide to expand this, then that's ultimately their decision, and the president of the United States will respond in kind.
And there you have that. Now, my bigger concern going forward isn't Iran. Because don't think this is only about Iran. This is a global chess game, and China's got skin in this game, and a lot of it. The strike hit those in Beijing, too. China and Iran aren't just buddies. You see, they're economically joined at the hip. It's all about that black gold, oil. China's the biggest buyer of Iran-sanctioned crude. They purchased 90% of the country's oil exports, which is about 25% of the oil used in China. Think about that. It's also nearly 20% of Iran's GDP flowing straight into Tehran's coffers. Since they signed that 25-year comprehensive strategic partnership in 2021, China has been Iran's lifeline, helping them dodge U.S. sanctions with shady banking tricks and bartering deals, and yes, moving oil on the black market. Iran's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil trade. China gets over 40% of its total crude from the Middle East, with Iran as its key supplier. And now, Iran has ordered the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. When we hit Iran's nuclear sites, we didn't just cripple their bomb-making dreams. We sent a shockwave through China's energy security, too. Now, why does this matter? Well, because China's economy is already wobbling. Trade wars, tariffs, and domestic production slowdowns are already hitting them hard. Losing access to cheap Iranian oil could spike their energy costs, choke their factories, and make Xi Jinping and his regime look weak. And let me tell you, folks, a desperate China is a dangerous China, a very dangerous China. They've got the capability to hit back. I'm not talking about some half-baked missile show. I'm talking about our power grid, for one. It's our Achilles heel. They know it. China's been probing our infrastructure for years, planting malware in our electrical systems, water plants, and telecom networks. A 2024 FBI report warned that Chinese hackers have pre-positioned tools for disruptive or destructive cyber attacks. That's a quote against U.S. critical infrastructure. If Xi feels cornered, he could greenlight a cyber attack to plunge our cities into darkness, disrupt our markets, sow chaos. Imagine, no power for weeks, Hospitals shut down. Your food spoils. ATMs don't work. That's the kind of retaliation we need to be ready for. If you don't have a generator now, probably is a good time to think about getting one. Word on the street is also that Xi Jinping's health is going south. Rumors have been swirling on X and in back channels that the guy's got serious health issues. Maybe he even suffered a stroke in the last year or so. He's been looking frail at public events, and his grip on power, it's getting shakier. A sick leader with a bruised ego is a recipe for a bad decision or two. On top of that, the People's Liberation Army is in the middle of a massive restructuring. She's purging generals, shuffling commands, and trying to make the PLA leaner and meaner, but it's causing chaos in the ranks. A 2025 report from the Carnegie Endowment noted China's military modernization is hitting snags, logistical bottlenecks, corruption, you name it. So, an unstable Xi, a disorganized PLA, and a hit to their oil supply. That's a powder keg, folks. It could make Xi lash out to save face. So far, China's only gone so far as to condemn the attacks, but will they go further? Here's Mike Pompeo. Like him or not, he's got this one dialed in. Listen.
That. And we should think, too, the Chinese are the primary purchaser of Iranian crude oil. When we talk about whether they might decide to close the Strait of Hormuz, the most directly and most immediately impacted will be the Chinese economy, not Western economies. And so I think the Chinese picked a loser here. I think Xi Jinping woke up today recognizing that he had picked the loser. And I am not surprised that neither he nor Vladimir Putin in Russia have actually come to the assistance of a nation that they promised they had a deep, forever partnership with, and they have just been no-shows as Iran has been decimated.
Now, I don't think we should count China out too soon. We've no idea what they're planning. I agree that China partnered with a loser in picking Iran, but I don't assume that China is going to accept that loss peacefully. Iran's nuclear program was a threat, no question, and Trump did what weak-kneed Biden could never. Take a stand and take it out. But will China sit idly by while their oil source gets squeezed down? Probably not. They've got the motive and the means to hit our grid. And with Xi's health rumors and the PLA shakeup, he might just be reckless enough to try it. My hope is that after a show of domination like this, he wouldn't dare. But this is why we need Trump's America First policies more than ever. Strong borders, a beefed-up military, and a cyber defense that can stop China's hackers cold. We can't let the globalists in D.C. or the CCP in Beijing push us around. It's time to rally behind our president, secure our grid, and show the world that America's back and stronger than ever. While we're on the subject of cybersecurity, did you know that American homeowners nationwide have $32 trillion in equity? Cyber criminals are targeting it right now with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. House alarms, doorbell cameras, they won't work against these thieves because they're after your equity. If your title isn't being monitored, scammers can transfer the title of your home into their name, take loans against it, or even sell it behind your back. And you don't even know what's happened until those nasty grams show up in your mailbox. So, Home Title Lock. Get a free title history report and a 30-day free trial of triple lock protection today by going to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Get on your way to peace of mind and a good night's sleep. I'll take a break and be right back. Welcome to it. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so Obviously, one of the ways that this president communicates all the time is by way of social media, Truth Social, right? And so here's what Donald Trump put out a while after that attack. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MIGA, exclamation points. Make Iran great again. Just a short while ago, a video circulating now on the news channels and on social media of a hit on Iran's main prison where they keep political prisoners, blowing the front gate off the place. Don't know if those people have made it to freedom, but that's quite a statement from an Israeli hit, freeing all the political prisoners in Iran. That's stirring for political change. Iran of the 1970s was a great and progressive nation, and now it's a nation run by the mullahs, and women are not allowed to have an education or drive cars or be in public without their arms covered, their face covered, their bodies covered almost completely. Yeah, remarkable. If you'd like to learn more about the United States and our place in this great world of ours, man, Hillsdale College has got everything you need. You can do what Ivy and I do. Watch these great videos. GruberforHillsdale.com. These videos, there's more than 40, by the way. They're all free. I tell you about this because I want you to be smarter. I want you to learn something. I want you to binge this and not Netflix. Next time you get a chance to watch something, learn something about the Constitution or Christianity in America or the Declaration of Independence or the Founding Fathers or why Congress works or doesn't work. It's all laid out for you. GruberforHillsdale.com. More than 40 programs. And these are series. The series on free trade and free market and capitalism. 7 programs. It's like binging a mini-series. It's beautiful. Anyhow, it's all free. GruberforHillsdale.com. It's all free. Incredibly well done. You want to learn about America? Learn it from the best. GruberforHillsdale.com. GruberforHillsdale.com. Go there today. Check it out. I'll be right back. All right, keeping up, look, the news cycle is continuing. The attacks over the weekend using those bunker buster bombs, a dozen just into Fordo alone. And just 6 holes. Think about how precision that is. The 6 originals go in, and then 6 more follow down the same shaft to do incredible damage following the first strike. So there you go. And it all happens within moments, of course. Now, watching the developments overseas, it appears that Iran has had its prison targeted by the Israelis that holds all the political prisoners. And now we are reading that a strike has hit the Iranians Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the headquarters. We're told that hundreds of Revolutionary Guards may have been killed in this attack. We'll see how this plays out. Joining me now to help sort this out is Tyler Gray. He's the star of SEAL Team and a former Delta Force operator and the author of Forged in Chaos, a Warrior's Origin Story. Tyler, thank you for being here.
For having me, sir.
All right, so this mission, just this mission, the coordination, the precision of it, and the fact that there was not a single leak. The Democrats are all over there on Capitol Hill. Well, we didn't get told. Yeah, you didn't get told for a reason, because there wasn't a leak to the New York Times or the Washington Post or any place else. I heard Jennifer Griffin on Fox News say it was the most secure mission she's been aware of in 20 years of covering this stuff. Just reflect on the mission itself for a moment, if you would, sir.
Yeah, I was actually just talking about this yesterday. It's the thing that the U.S. military has that most people don't recognize. Do we have technology? Yes. Do we have, there's a lot of things that make the U.S. military what it is. But I would argue the main advantage we have is so much experience from so many years doing operations that we have a ton of complex procedures and in place that we've learned over time, and it allows the U.S. military to do very complex, coordinated missions, and this is one of the amount of effort that went into, and again, all the coordination that went into making this happen. We're really the only pull off this level of a mission.
Yeah, to fly. I mean, these B-2s, first of all, we sent a decoy flight west, I'm told. We sent a whole squadron west. Hey, look over here. Then we took 7 B-2s around the world. 37 hours, just shy of 37 hours round trip. More than 150 aircraft involved, including KC-135 Stratotankers and fighter jets, all of that. And then the precision, the fact that we can send a 30,000-pound bomb right down the exact same hole that the previous 30,000 pound just went down. I mean, the ability of our military was just underscored. And like I said, for these terrorists who think, oh, the United States is all bark and no bite. Good morning. That's quite a wake up call, isn't it?
Yeah, to me, I grew up, as a huge Star Wars fan, and to me, it reminded me of the original film, dropping it in the ventilation shaft, literally. So it was a very, very, very complex, very well coordinated, and as you said previously, a very well kept secret mission. And again, it was hats off to the entire U.S. military, but specifically, obviously, the Air Force. It was a great operation.
Yeah, incredible mission. All right, so here's where we stand today. We've been told and we've been warned by credible sources that during Joe Biden's tenure as president, when we had an open border, that all sorts of radicals came into this country, including something like 2,000 Iranian nationals, among others. Right now, terrorist attacks on American soil would come as no surprise, would it?
No, I hate to say this, but I've been saying it for quite some time, and in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before we have something like a Mumbai-style attack in the U.S. I hate to say it, and I don't want to inspire, fear, but at the same time, if you look at the border policies that we previously had, and it's only a matter of time before we have a massive a sleeper cell and a homegrown terrorist threat, or not homegrown, but something that has activated sleeper cells within our border that's been here plotting and planning for years. It's only a matter of time before that happens. In the job of our infrastructure at home and preparing for a possible attack of this nature. The government does a horrible job, as we all know, of being reactionary so many times. They wait until something happens, and then they come up with policies, procedures to fix it. We need to be more proactive going forward, because you have to deal with these threats before, not after they happen.
As a professional operator, let me ask you something. What is your situational awareness? You go and you sit in a restaurant, you walk through a mall, you're driving down the street. Give us some tips of what you look for, how you react when you're on the street. Look, I've got a CPL. People I know, carry concealed. That's all fine and well, but that's just one little piece of a bigger puzzle. What do you look for? What's on your mind when you drive down the street in a big city?
What I really notice, and again, it's very obvious to me, the fastest thing that a predator will spot is not prey. The fastest thing that a predator will spot is another predator. So for me, I'm looking for someone that I'm on the lookout. I'm hyper aware for someone that has a level of awareness. Trying to think of the way to describe it, but essentially I'm looking for someone who I can tell has some level of negative intent. And once you know what to look for, it's very obvious. I'm looking for someone that is hyper aware, looking for someone like myself, if that makes sense. If you look at somebody that's about to do something wrong or has ill intent, they will have a hyper level of awareness, because they're looking for someone that could stop them. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You're a hunter looking for other hunters, basically. I mean, You're looking for somebody who's as plugged into the situation as you are. That makes perfect sense, because they're trying to round up the sheep, and you're the sheepdog, if you will. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. Real quickly, we got about 30 seconds here. To wrap up, Iran, I don't believe we're at war. People want to say, well, we've gone to war. We didn't go to war. We went and obliterated nuclear sites in Iran, so we don't have to go to war. I'll give you the final word here.
Look, a lot of people, it's funny. It's ridiculous to me. There's so much talk about being at war, and there are so many examples of previous administrations. Obama sent more predator drones taking out people for years than any other president.
Sure.
He sent troops to Libya, Syria, etc., and that wasn't a war. So to call this a war is just, in my opinion, quite frankly, laughable and politics as usual.
A successful hit is what it was. Tyler Gray, Forged in Chaos, A Warrior's Origin Story is the book. You can check it out. Tyler, thank you for being here. You come back anytime.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. There's some insight for you. Now you know what you're looking for. Other people that are hyper aware in the crowd. Keep an eye out. Be safe. right. Diving back into it now, these strikes in Iran, obviously some of the strikes from Israel have impacted the Iranian oil output. And remember, China gets a lot of its oil from Iran, about 20-25%. And of that represents about 90% of Iran's oil production. So it's incredibly important to Iran to keep selling to China. But now the Iranians are saying close the Strait of Hormuz. What does all this mean? What does it mean on the economy? Well, Terry Sawchuk here, founder of Sawchuk Wealth, to how you kind of navigate us through this part of it. Terry, good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning, Steve. Good to see you, buddy.
I see oil prices are into the high 70s now. 10 days ago, they were between 60 and 65. They'd been there for a long time. They've gone up $14 a barrel. Not a wild spike, but certainly something that's going to impact. I see gas prices are creeping up pretty good. What does this mean? Energy costs impact the economy, don't they?
Well, they sure do. They're certainly a component of inflation. And this is kind of that cat and mouse game that's going on between Trump and Powell, right? We want to lower interest rates, but Powell's like, well, what about inflation? And when you have oil going up, that's not great for the argument against inflation. But I think, it's temporary. The reality, Steve, is that it's like 2% of the oil that we use comes from that part of the world. So it's not like we need the Straits of Hormuz open. Like you said earlier, it's the Chinese. So I'm not sure what the strategic advantage is to Iran to cut off one of their biggest customers from the sale of oil. I don't really think long-term that's going to be a viable strategy for them. And I also don't really think Iran, in the bigger scheme of things, is going to be a big deal. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems like they're kind of a paper tiger.
Yeah, to retaliate by cutting your own throat, that doesn't make a lot of sense. We're going to stop all the oil flowing. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And let's see, Brent crude right now is at 77.5. West Texas Intermediate at 74.5. So, I mean, those are up literally $12, $14 a barrel from where they were just 10 days ago. So that's going to have an impact. And the gas prices are going up about 15 cents. And
but you have to ask why. I mean, we haven't lost supply of oil, right? This is just gouging, in my opinion, a bit of speculation probably, because we literally have not restricted our own access to oil. So why are our prices going higher?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, we're still down a quarter from where we were a year ago on the price of gas. A year ago, nationally, it was $3.45, and now it's $3.22. So, still about a quarter less. Where does this fit into? Do you think this has any impact overall on the economy? The markets don't seem to be. The markets don't seem to care at all. I looked at the futures here today. They don't seem to care at all about any of this.
No, I mean, right now it's a non-issue, right? I don't think this. I mean, when you think about starting a war, well, who's the war with? Iran doesn't have the ability to prosecute a war against the United States. Russia's embroiled in a war with Ukraine. Right? China doesn't want any part of this. They just want their oil. So I just don't see how this is likely going to turn into a war per se. Could we get some sleeper cell attacks in the United States? Yeah, we could. And, would that affect markets on a short-term basis? Yeah, it probably would. But in the end, Steve, the economy is still strong. This is why Powell refuses in part to cut interest rates. Because when you look at things, the service sector is strong. The economy, the GDP is like 3.5%, 4%, somewhere in that neighborhood. Unemployment's still low. You won't see a real decline in economic output until you see a rise in unemployment.
Yeah, GDP is stronger than they anticipate. Look, and the other thing is this. You mentioned inflation earlier. You mentioned interest rates. None of those things have done what the experts predicted. Interest rates were going to fall and inflation was going to soar under the tariffs. Inflation at 2.4%. Unemployment is 4.2%. I mean, those are pretty good numbers, aren't they?
This is the worst recession in history, apparently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this literally is not even close to a recession. And Steve, you and I have talked about this, and I hate to keep beating this drum, but to be honest with you, it's clear that the general media is the enemy of the United States. And they keep, there's just so many people that are either have lost their minds with TDS or are have an agenda and are trying to undermine everything that the president does. So I don't believe any of that stuff. I take it with a grain of salt, and I just look at the data. And by the way, we're heading into summer driving season, right? Through the 4th of July, Americans pick up their stuff, their kids, they go on vacation. Maybe they're going to do more of a staycation. Maybe they don't fly. But, typically oil prices are going to peak over the next 3 to 4 weeks probably anyway. So I don't really see this as being necessarily directly tied to Iran.
Exactly right. Here we are. The air conditioning prices are going to go up here over the next couple of days. Other than that, good Lord, it's hot. But, we used to have a term for this. It's called summer. When you and I were kids, we called it summer. I want to, it makes me think about one totally unrelated. Biden put in all these regulations on air conditioners, for example. I hope that Donald Trump scales some of that back, because it's times like right now when it's 90, 95 degrees in some place across this country. You want air conditioning. You don't want it to break the bank to get it done. I hope that Donald Trump gets rid of some of this nonsense. I'll give you the last word here, Terry.
Well, on that note, Steve, think about this. Like, more people die from heat exhaustion, right, than probably frostbite, when you think about it. So Biden was probably directly responsible for the killing of a bunch of elderly Americans, right? By cutting the air conditioning availability. I mean, it just makes no sense. Like, none of what they ever did made sense. It's obvious that they were trying to undermine the sovereignty of the United States, in my opinion. Why? I don't know. They were on the Chinese payroll, probably. That's why.
It would appear that that's entirely true. Terry Sawchuk from Sawchuk Wealth. You can find him online, all sorts of places. Terry, always appreciates your view on things. There's a QR code for those of you sitting at home with your phone. You can scan that right in, go right to Sawchuk Wealth. It's perfect. Thank you, guys. Terry, thank you as always.
My pleasure, buddy. I hope you feel a little better.
Well, I'm getting there. Thank you, sir. Haven't been under the weather for a little bit here lately. I think I don't care really, but I'm pretty sure we have COVID, because Ivy got sick and lost taste. And it's the only disease I ever know, illness I've ever known, that lost taste. Anyhow, don't care much about COVID, just care about being here for you every single day. And I'll be back in just a moment. right. So, yeah, heat wave across a good part of the country from the Great Lakes to the East Coast. Governor Hochul has declared a state of emergency for New York City as it's going to break its daily record. The daily record was 96 degrees, Central Park 1888. But it could hit 102 degrees on Tuesday. That's hot, right? It's not the hottest day on record in June. They've had 100, well, I take that back. It would be the hottest day in June. 101 has been reached a couple of times in New York City in June. 107 degrees is the hottest temperature recorded in New York City all time at LaGuardia some years ago. In Michigan, the hottest it ever here in my home state, 112. Oscoda County and Stanwood. Mayo and Stanwood and Mecosta and Oscoda counties, July 13, 1936. There was a heat wave, July 10, 11, 12, 1936. Grand Rapids was 106. Saginaw, 107. Gull Lake, 108. Flint, 108. Newaygo, 111. And 112 in Stanwood and Mayo. That's hot. That, boy, is that hot. By the way, if you'd like to save money on cooling your home and heating your home, WellConnect Geo is the place to be. WellConnect, the hybrid geothermal system. All you need is a well in your yard. If you're anywhere in the northern part of the country and you have a well in your yard, you're halfway to a hybrid geothermal system that'll save you as much as 90% on your utilities. That's right, because it'll cut your heating almost enough. You'll keep your furnace, you'll keep your air conditioner. This is an add-on. It's not a replacement, right? And if you finance the system, your savings on your utility bills will be more than what you pay for the system. It's just the way it is. And by the way, there are a lot of incentives out there right now from the federal government that may be going away at the end of the year. So now is the time. If you've ever thought about geothermal and how it can save you, because air conditioning is almost free on this deal. Seriously. Go look at it. WellConnectGeo.com. WellConnectGeo.com. If you're a do-it-yourself person, you can do it yourself. Otherwise, call your favorite HVAC folks. They'll put it in about 1 day. WellConnect Geo. Thermal. WellConnectGeo.com. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. We've got a lot more straight ahead about this big mission into Iran after the